AIDS rate is through the roof. Cancer is through the roof. Hysterectomies are through the roof. Black America remains in a state of social and economic degradation without attempting to alter the condition or the condition that's responsible for our suffering. African American men from across the United States converged on Washington in an effort to convey to the world a vastly different picture of the black male. But we still have domestic violence at an all-time high. We still have now something that never plagued our neighborhood, pedophiles in the African American culture. So I ask you, has the promise been kept? We still struggle for a healthy and self-sufficient black community. Social and economic issues facing the black community still fall by the wayside of policy debates. Has the promise been kept? African Americans still face unemployment rates nearly twice that of white Americans and a poverty rate of more than 40%. Has the promise been kept? Billions of dollars are still being cut from urban schools, and now McGraw-Hill has the audacity to insult us by changing the wording in the history books regarding the transatlantic slave trade and all of the issues surrounding it, and just classifies us as immigrants that was brought here to work. Has the promise been kept? Our children are still being miseducated, and our adults refuse to be educated. Has the promise been kept? We are still fighting aggressive law enforcement. Black men are murdered at a rate of 72 per 100,000, a rate significantly higher than the 9.3 per 100,000 attributed to white male population. There are more and more prison constructions, leaving 202,000 more black men in the correctional system today than in 1995. Prenatal care for black women and children still declines. Inner city hospitals are closing. We continue to be born with 3 strikes against us: insufficient prenatal care, inferior educational opportunities, and jobless parents. Has the promise been kept? Single parents are at an all-time high. Has the promise been kept? Black men abandoning their families. Has the promise been kept? The government continues to intervene in our lives and how we raise our children. Standardized tests, health and weight charts that don't even apply to us. The welfare programs haven't improved the circumstances. Have we fell short? Has the promise been kept? Let's talk about our media. We have not eliminated the negative racial stereotypes in the American media and popular culture. Our men are still sagging their pants today, calling each other nigger, but making it fashionable by ending an A on the end of it. The black woman is now a bitch, wifey, or thought. We have basketball wives, housewives, imagery of unfaithfulness, adultery, abuse. We're still cooning in 2015. We fail to settle disputes, overcome conflicts, put aside grudges, and hate upon each other. We have no unity in the black community that fosters each person's ability to seek the good and find it and embrace it. Light skins still hate on dark skins still hate on light skins, good, bad hair, weave, natural. We still have these issues in 2015. We fail to meet the challenge to commit to responsibility and personal conduct and our obligations to our very own community. The United States of America is currently led by a black man who attended the Million Man March in 1995. He inherited a nation in trouble. Military conflicts were raging in many parts of the earth. Over the previous 8 years of the Bush administration, America experienced the loss of friendships of many of our allies, and we're still trying to rebuild those relationships. America's economy is in terrible shape, with a huge public debate taking place regarding health care reform, while expensive foreign wars continue to place us deeper and deeper in debt. Has the promise been kept? The doors of many of America's factories are closing, yet we allow media to disrespect and place blame at the feet of President Obama. See, once again, the black man has to be the scapegoat. And like obedient children, we buy into this distraction. We have found a way to squander the liberties and countless possibilities for which our forefathers sacrificed their lives, was hosed and spat upon. It is ridiculous that in 2015, we are still fighting our children to go to school and take advantage of the situations that our forefathers died to get them that privilege thereof. We lead the nation in HIV infections. It is killing our community, whether you are heterosexual or homosexual. We continue to lead in heart disease, diabetes, obesity, and many other food-induced diseases. 70% of black children are born out of wedlock. We continue to refuse education. Having an education unlocks doors and shatters the glass ceiling. However, we have less African American men graduating from high school, which should be something to be the norm, and very few are applying for college and college degrees. We have more African American men wanting to be Lil Wayne than to be W.E.B. Du Bois, as Pastor Carruthers once said. Education that should be valued, instead of spending 4 years in the educational system, they'd rather spend 4 years in the penal system. Has the promise been kept? There is nothing wrong with speaking proper English. Getting good grades or having a high level of self-respect is not acting white. Has the promise been kept? We still discriminate against each other. We are the only community that's mixed of so many different shades and so many different forces combined. We are forced to be reckoned with, but yet we still haven't got it. We are still killing each other, for too many of us are dying senseless deaths over stuff that don't even belong to us. Street corners, turfs, you stepped on my sneakers, you talked to my girl. Has the promise been kept? We still don't use our economic power. We rather go to a store that disrespects us and mistreats us. We won't boycott Black Friday and Christmas and all of these economic holidays until we get the respect that we deserve, because after all, we need another flat screen TV. 20 years later, there is still work to be done. So for everyone that is heading to Washington, D.C., they say that the message is justice or else. I say we need to remember what the pledge was, remember what the promise is, hold the next million that's up there, or otherwise we're just going to have another family reunion up in March on Washington and nothing gets accomplished. Okay, the promise is not being kept. Okay, one of the things that I wanted to talk about, and there's so many things to be talked about. There are so many positive things. Don't get me wrong. There are very, very positive things that's happening in our community. And for that, I applaud you all. But they are too far and in between. Too far and in between. We march in spurts. Okay, Trayvon Martin was killed, and we got riled up and we marched. When's the last time somebody mentioned Trayvon Martin's name? Okay, Michael Brown got killed. Freddie Gray got killed. Sandra Bland got killed. I can't even tell you the last time we've heard Sandra's name in the media. It's like it doesn't happen, and over and over and over again. So one of the things when Doc and I was talking yesterday, and we were sharing that we are going to the march because I'm going to stand in the gap for my son and my husband, but I'm also going to hold them accountable. And I encourage the sisters that's out there that's listening to the sound of my voice, it is time that you start holding our men accountable to step up or step off. Okay, playtime is over. Our children's blood is running in the street. It is way past time that we as a nation of people come together and come up with positive solutions. 1 minute. Go ahead, caller. You're on the air.
Hello, this is Stephen Sykes. Thank you very kindly for posting your message today.
Thank you, Mr. LP. Do you have a question or a comment too?
Yes, I'd like to make a comment. I think that three things that's going to help get us over the hump in terms of our community. One is education, two is faith, and three, mercy. We need to learn this, understand that not everybody has the same opportunities. Too many times we have the assumption as a community that one can do it, you can do it too, and not all the opportunities, even if you give the same plate to the next person,
Agreed.
the other person couldn't be able to eat the same way as you do.
Agreed.
So one thing that we need to do is get our education, and there should be no excuse that any child should not graduate high school. That should be personally, that should be not only a national law, that should be a personal law within our families.
I agree.
Not only after you finish your school, then go further. If you take it back towards using other cultures as an example, they've always placed a high importance on education. If you look at what happened with the Jewish community, French and Dutch and all the other ones that came over during the war, it was a responsibility of everybody who got involved in some form of profession that increased your individual wealth, your community wealth, and got involved in politics. And then now, looking in Congress, everybody is now German, Irish, French, Jewish, different communities that were at one point tarnishing our communities by the United States as a whole. Same thing with Asian Americans, and now us, especially the Black community, a Native American community, and our Hispanic Latino community, need to make the same efforts overall. Once we do that and support each other, then I think that's where it's going to start going forward from there and embrace our ability to adapt in each environment. And then once we start holding each other accountable, to stop this "don't tell me what to do" society, instead of I think we need to check ourselves. And every time you, I, or anybody else come to the forefront and say, listen, at some point these things are wrong, but what do we do to put ourselves in our situation? Mental health is a big issue in our gay community.
It's a huge issue in our community.
To learn how to handle conflict.
Correct.
Once we start addressing these issues, along with domestic violence and sex education, I think, you know what? It's not even, I can't even say sex education because we know what to do. We know all the types of protection.
I would hope so. Okay.
But we still don't want to do it. So, I mean, but when we're sitting here with my aunt made it, so-and-so make it. One of the things I wanted to add to the list of things going on is our women and our young girls is the last 4 years are starting to rise in young Black women overall going to jails. And I think this is a direct result from our TVs, where we're seeing more and more young girls acting and talking as what they see in TV, and our young Black women reiterating this poor behavior. So there are young girls and our young Black women growing up now is moving forward. It's been like maybe 9-10 years since we had to go back with Housewives of Atlanta and all these other shows. Right. And now you're seeing the makeup of now a generation of this, and now you're seeing the results of our generation where they just saying, forget it, we'll arrest them. And now the story is not just turning on us, it's now turning into the lowest common denominator in our women. And that's where we need to make a change now.
I agree with you, and I'm glad that you called in. You know, this is something that you and I, we talk about, Doc and I talk about all the time, and it's like you can talk and talk and talk, but eventually it's like I said, okay, we're on the 20th anniversary of the Million Man March. We're talking 20 years have passed, and although we can see some small positive changes, they're so far and in between, but we still feel like we're standing in the same place. What I don't want to know is what I'm saying is okay, 20 years from now, some of us are not going to be here, and that generation should not be addressing things that we should have fixed 20 years ago. Okay, because the promise was kept. And I mean, regardless if you are a supporter of Minister Farrakhan, whether you like him, whether you're Muslim, that's not the point. That's not my point at all. The foundation is really clear. We have to restore this village. This village is totally disenfranchised, and it's getting worse. You know, you talk about genocide, okay? If you look at it, Black genocide is the worst form of genocide there is. We're killing each other. We're killing each other literally. And, you know, I understand that, you know, we have the Black Lives Matter, you know, movement. And every time somebody says Black Lives Matter, somebody else comes up with all lives matter. Of course, all lives matter. Okay, but right now the focus needs to be on where the facts are. The facts are that Blacks, African Americans are dying at an extremely high rate, whether you be man, woman, or child. Okay, that's a fact. Okay, and the facts of the matter is, or whatever and stuff, is that until we take back our communities and police our communities, you had a valid point when you talked about education. But the one thing that I defer in, you are 100% right, that everybody does not have the luxury or the liberty to maybe attend a 4-year university.